Sherrod Blakely, NBC Sports Boston. We'll get his take and slant on that. Where are they going to get points from? Where were they getting points from in the Milwaukee series? They were getting them from Jaylen Brown. We'll get the skinny on whether or not we can anticipate Brown playing tonight. He did tell the coach this morning that he was feeling better, Sherrod Blakely, but do you anticipate seeing Jaylen Brown in the lineup tonight?
No, I don't. When you're talking about a hamstring, a grade 1 hamstring injury, you're probably looking at a few days off. I think if he had an extra day or two, there would be a realistic chance of seeing him out there. But with such a quick turnaround, I just don't think the Celtics or Jaylen Brown will risk him getting back out there and potentially doing further damage by playing sooner rather than later. So I think he will be back at some point in the series, but I don't expect to see him out there for Game 1.
Do you think tonight, do they view tonight, the way the Sixers are favored and have been playing and everyone's talking about them, and, obviously Boston has had the injury bug. Do you think tonight has that must-win kind of feel to kind of shut everybody up and kind of grab the momentum of this series?
I think the Celtics are going to come out and really play with a huge chip on their shoulder. It's really unusual. A team will start off a series at home, and yet the narrative throughout the country is that they're going to lose. And this is a prideful team. This is a team that has found ways to win when everything tells you there's no in hell they should win. I think this is a game that they're going to I think win. If for no other reason, just to shut people up for one day about whether they're a quality team or not.
Do they feel slighted that teams were essentially jockeying to play them in the first round? We saw a lot of maneuvering down the stretch there. Did that light their fuse a little?
Well, for them, yeah, they saw that, and it bothered them. But for this team, they haven't really obsessed over what other teams are doing. They've been really so locked into what they have to do to be competitive. And when you look at the injuries that they've had to overcome, that's a pretty good strategy because they don't have the time or frankly, the freedom to make that kind of stuff an issue. They have to be on one accord because they don't have the wiggle room that a lot of teams do, where you can just you can focus on other things besides the game and still be successful. They can't do that. They're just not deep enough to do that, or talented for that matter.
Marcus Smart missed some time with injury. What does he add to this series, in your opinion? And who do you see him defending?
Well, better question. Who is he not going to defend? I think you're going to see him all over the floor, which is exactly what he wants to be. I mean, he's like a little Tasmanian devil out there. He's just causing havoc and chaos with whoever he is matched up with. You will see him certainly on Simmons. You'll see him on Redick. You'll see him on Covington. Probably, there'll be some switches where he's going to be guarding Embiid as well. He's that type of defender. Remember just a year or two ago, one of the more memorable matchups that he had in the regular season was where he was matched up with Kristaps Porzingis. And, the Unicorn had a lot of problems with him. So I anticipate seeing him all over the floor. And, again, with Jaylen Brown unlikely to play, Marcus Smart, his play will be absolutely critical for the Celtics to have any shot of winning.
Sherrod Blakely, NBC Boston, with us. Who do you think is the bigger matchup problem for Boston, Simmons or Embiid?
I would have to go with Simmons. And the reason why is because you're talking about a 6'10" point guard. And when you're talking about it, and I hate to keep beating the drum, but without Jaylen Brown, that's one less body that they can throw out there to try and slow down Ben Simmons, who's obviously a talented player. When you look at Embiid, you've got Al Horford, you've got Aaron Baines, and those two guys have done a pretty good job when they saw him during the regular season. In fact, Embiid is shooting less than 40% from the field against the Celtics this season. So they know he's obviously a great talent, but they've got a couple guys that they can at least slow him down a little bit. Ben Simmons, that's going to be a bigger problem.
Now, you mentioned Smart going to be all over the place. Is Simmons one of the places he might find himself on?
Oh, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me if Marcus Smart is in the starting lineup in place of Jaylen Brown, who will probably be out, and he begins matched up against Ben Simmons. Because when you look at Philadelphia's lineup, that's the natural assignment for Marcus Smart. And I'm curious to see how Ben's going to handle that, because Marcus, he's a bulldog out there. But Simmons is used to having smaller guys defend him, but I'm not sure he's used to having a guy that has the kind of defensive DNA that Marcus Smart has beginning the game on him.
Sherrod Blakely, NBC Boston, Sixers, Celtics coming up at 8 o'clock here on 97.3. Boston's got so many injuries. Who are a couple of guys that maybe have played in these series that the Sixers fans might not even be aware of that could have an impact on this series?
Semi Ojeleye. I've spent plenty of time working on that pronunciation because I got a feeling we're going to be hearing that a lot in this series. You know, he was the guy that Brad Stevens inserted in the lineup the last 2 or 3 games of the playoff series against Milwaukee with the task of trying to slow down Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I gotta be honest, Shimmy did better than any other Celtic, which is crazy when you think about, you know, how deep this team is from a defensive standpoint, even with the injuries. You will see him out on the floor, and I asked Brad Stevens about him this morning. And, you know, Shimmy is a guy that Brad sees can guard basically 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s on the Sixers team. So he is a guy that we will definitely see out there in some capacity, could potentially be a starter, or he could be coming off the bench. I anticipate he'll be coming off the bench, but either way, he's going to be one of those guys that they're going to be looking to really help them slow down this obviously very, very talented Sixers attack.
Shimmy Ojeleye. Can you grade my pronunciation there real quick?
Shimmy, just like the dance, Shimmy. Last name Ojeleye. The Ojeleye is going to kill you, though.
Okay,
that's a tough one.
I can say Sherrod Blakely. That rolls off the tongue. How about Brad Stevens and his role in this series? Do you see that the series? Do you get the sense that this is a big challenge? Is he a pretty even-keeled guy, Brad Stevens?
Oh, gosh. I mean, if you look up even keel, you'll see a picture of Brad not smiling right next to the words. He's that kind of guy. I mean, whether the team is rolling along or whether they're struggling, his demeanor does not really change a whole lot. But when you watch him closely in games, he's very engaged, very intense. But the one thing that has helped him, and really helped the players for that matter, is because he has had this level-headed approach to the game, whether they're winning or losing. It's kind of permeated itself within the inner workings of the team. And so this team doesn't get real excited when they have a big win. They don't get real down on themselves when they struggle. And that's a great quality to have, particularly for a team that has had the kind of basketball adversity that they've had to deal with this season with the injuries and such.
Jason Tatum. I mean, here's a guy that got so much conversation between these two teams. Boston wanted them. The Sixers make the trade. Fultz, missed basically the whole year. What kind of role does Tatum have in this series with this matchup?
Well, he is certainly a guy that the Celtics, when they're looking to get some points, he's going to be one of the guys that they're going to lean on heavily. And he stepped up huge in Game 7, had 20 points, was very aggressive, attacking, finishing at the rim, knocking down jumpers. He did everything that they needed him to do, and they're going to need more of the same going forward because Jason Tatum is, again, you're talking about one of the top 3 rookies in the NBA. I put him in the same category as Donovan Mitchell and obviously Ben Simmons. He's been that good this year, and the Celtics are going to need him to be even better in this series if they're going to find a way to win it.
All right. Tell us a little bit about Terry Rozier. 26 points against the Bucks in Game 7. Game 7s are for legends. 26 points from Rozier. Where'd he come from?
Listen, he is a great example of a guy who has been patiently waiting for his opportunity to get out on the floor and show what he can do. I mean, think about this. His very first start in the NBA came this year, and he had a triple-double. In his next game, he had 31 points. So that tells you right there that this kid is a gamer. He had some rough patches in this series when the series shifted to Milwaukee, but he knew that they absolutely needed him to step up in a big, bad way in Game 7, and he did just that, knocked down big shots, had some great plays defensively. He's a guy that you would love to have him coming off your bench because he gives you that instant offense, high-energy type play. But the one thing I will say that he's been able to do at a really high level, which has shocked me because I didn't think he had it in him. His playmaking ability. He averaged about 6.7 assists in that first-round series against Milwaukee, but more impressive, he had a 4.2 assist-to-turnover ratio, which was tops among all players in the playoffs who averaged 6 or more assists and played 30-plus minutes. So he's playing big minutes, he's getting guys involved, and he's knocking down shots. He is one of those X factors that Philadelphia, they're going to have to really figure out how to limit his impact because he's shown when he gets it going, the Celtics become an extremely difficult team to beat.
Obviously, you look at this series, the physicality in the Miami series. I mean, it was almost every night. They were trying to really make it a tough physical fight. I think they ran out of gas in the fourth quarter of most games. That's where the Sixers really won those games. I would anticipate the Celtics want to be physical and really try to keep those games, in the low hundreds. The Sixers average 114. but do they have the depth to fight like that night in and night out? Miami did not.
Well, that's a great question. And you're right. The Celtics will definitely, a lower scoring game certainly plays in their favor. And we saw that play out in the Milwaukee series. The last 3 games, they held Milwaukee below 100 points, and they, and positioned themselves to win those games each and every night. That's going to be the big challenge for Boston. They are definitely going to be physical. As far as whether I think they do have the front court depth to bang, because, we talked about, Al Horford, and we've talked about Aaron Baines, but we haven't talked about Greg Monroe. And this is a series, frankly, this is why they got him off the waiver wire, so that he can be a guy that they can throw out there and give them some juice offensively and defensively in a series like this. So, yes, I think they're a little deeper at that position than the Miami Heat were, and I think that how they handle Embiid, that's going to be a huge factor in whether the Celtics can, which is crazy. I can't even believe I'm saying this, pull off the upset at home.
Now, Monroe was rendered ineffective with Milwaukee, though, because they went small, right? The fact that he might be able to put some points up inside against the Philly reserves could be easy buckets. They'll take any offense, right?
Absolutely. And that's really, he understands his role. There are going to be nights where he'll play, 15, 20 minutes, and there'll be nights where he'll be a DMP. He knows that he has a very specialized role with this team, and I think this game one, I think this series, we're going to see more of him because, again, Philadelphia has a dominant low-post presence player, in Joel Embiid, and whether it's foul troubles or whether it's just to kind of shake things up and maybe, tilt the momentum in their favor, they're going to look to Greg Monroe to get in there and get him some buckets.
Not Embiid or Simmons. Who's the next guy on the Sixers that worries you the most?
J.J. Redick. Because he's having a great season. He is just an absolute killer shooter, and that's one of the things that when you have a Ben Simmons and an Embiid, their ability to draw so much attention leaves great shooters like J.J. Redick wide open or lightly contested, and that's killer right there. You can't afford to leave him plenty of opportunities to get great looks at the basket. And because, again, he's had a career season in terms of scoring with the Sixers, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have great interior players and guys like Simmons who gets him the ball where he's lightly contested or wide open. So he's a guy that if I'm the Celtics, I'm big time worried about his impact.
Sherrod Blakely, NBC, Boston. It's Celtics and the Sixers renewing that rivalry. We hope this one goes for about 8 to 10 to 15 years. Let's bring this one back each and every year. It should be a lot of fun. You can listen to the game tonight, 8 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. But by the way, Sherrod, I hate the times for these games. 8:30, a 5 o'clock Saturday, a 6 o'clock on a Monday. I think 6 o'clock Monday, you're taking a little home court advantage away from the Sixers there.
Who are you telling? Clearly, there's a pecking order in which they want the marquee matchups, and this one did not quite make the cut. So, we got to play the games when they play. You know how that is.
Unbelievable. So we'll have all those games for you here, 97.3. Sherrod, we appreciate it. Hope we can talk to you later on down the series.
Sounds good, fellas.